In the beginning, there was order. A species rose, intelligent, upright, powerful, the Pongo Pygmaeus, draped in dark robes, their minds sharpened by centuries of learning. The Pongo Pygmaeus claimed dominion over the land. They did not just survive, they ruled. They watched over Simeon, primitive apes, their pets. At the center of their order stood Imperator Aureus, supreme ruler, guardian of the waters. Beneath his command, the Pongo built temples of stone, channeled sacred rivers, and filled shimmering pools where they drew wisdom and strength. They traveled on the backs of the Oranthalax, giant, majestic troll beasts. The Pongo made allies of power and legend. The Denthorax, beasts of fang and fury, part feline, part ancient primate. The Pongo arranged an agreement with the Denthorax. A pact was struck in return for peace and protection. Through sheer force, the Denthorax would subdue the Umbrosimius, hulking, war-born gorillas. The Umbrosimius, giants of muscle and might, were bred for war and bound by it. They bore the weight of the Pongo Pygmaeus command, not by loyalty, but by fear. For it was the Denthorax, beasts of ancient terror, who muscled them into submission, enforcing the will of Imperator Aureus with tooth and fang. Then came the Malvogar, creatures of lava and ash. No one knew from whence they came. Born of dark sorcery or cursed elements, they existed only to kill, to burn, to end. The Umbrosimius marched, their orders: destroy the Malvogar, destroy they did. But victory never came without cost, for even as they crushed their enemies beneath thunderous fists, the true battle began within. Old rivalries, festering jealousies, fractured honor. The Umbrosimius, divided into three great Greeks, were fierce, but fractured. They obeyed only because they were forced to, and not all were content to kneel. The Malvogar, when slain, they left behind something unnatural, crystals of dark light, filled with a strange liquid known only as serum deformatum. The Pongo dared not touch it. They knew its power. They feared its curse. But among the Umbrosimius one saw opportunity. Simeon Magnus, born of war, forged by envy, a tactician, a revolutionary, a betrayer. Simeon Magnus did not hesitate. The path was clear. If the Umbrosimius were to rise and rule alone, he knew exactly what had to be done. Under the veil of peace, he approached the sanctuary. He spoke of victory over the Malvogar and was welcomed as a guest. But when the moon was high and the Pongo slept, Simeon unleashed the serum into their sacred waters. The transformation was not instant. But it was irreversible. The Oranthalax, the Pongo's proud steeds and companions, fell sick and tormented. The Pongo rode upon the backs of the Oranthalax, once proud beasts now writhing with lava-born lesions that pulsed like open wounds. Simeon Magnus stood in silence, watching as his dark design unfolded before him, every twisted thread falling perfectly into place. Confused and afraid, the Pongo clung to their mounts, drifting aimlessly as their minds began to slip, focus unraveling, the order they once knew melting into madness. Their minds twisted, chests heaved with molten agony. A sorrowful sight, once sacred pools of wisdom now poisoned, driving their downfall. Flames of devolution danced across their shifting forms. The Pongo leapt into the lakes, not to cleanse, but to escape. Their bodies unraveled, devolving into the very fish from which they had once evolved. The age of the Pongo was over. And in its place, a darker age began. Simeon Magnus crowned himself supreme leader. The Custodes Bestiarum, his brutal enforcers, enslaved the Denthorax, forcing them and all beasts to fight in blood-stained arenas. Strangely and against all expectation, Simeon Magnus formed a quiet bond with one Simeon, Pax Primus. In this unlikely friendship, a rare softness emerged within the war-born tyrant. But in the shadows of tyranny, something unexpected bloomed. Pax Primus, a humble Simeon, began to change. The serum affected him differently. He evolved, swiftly, intelligently, and others followed. The Simeon built great cities, noble families, a kingdom of their own. Now Pax Primus summons the council. For the Malvogar stir again, and the world teeters on the edge. The Umbrasimius must see peace. Only through unity can they survive, or all shall burn.